So, really happy to have you here. And Maria, Osa. Just for the starter, in order to warm up, I would like to make a small round of just describe a little bit how did you end up in the business where you are right now and what makes you passionate about it?
Ladies first.
Well, pure coincidence, I'd say. I actually applied for a totally other job and ended up in Green Carrier by chance. They saw that I was a cultural match for the company. And we talk a lot about company culture in our company. And I really liked the culture. So I'm still here and I enjoy the business a lot.
Thank you. Maria.
Yeah, I've been in the automotive industry since university. I was studying mechanical engineering. That was quite a natural step to go towards automotive industry in that time then. But I really like the change that we see in this industry, going from diesel engines now into alternative fuels. This is more like we see as a possibility of entering a new market and to do this. And I think this change and this travel is quite interesting.
All right.
And also we are providing trucks to the market, yes, but we have to understand the customer's business and the customer's business. So that's why we're part of this logistics chain. And I think that's very both challenging and interesting.
Good. Can I also ask, how did you end up in Estonia? Oops. Have you been working a long time for Volvo and then
I have
somehow...
not been working so much long time for Volvo, I would say. I've been working in another company, also in the automotive industry. But since 1st of April, I'm managing director here at Volvo. So I was offered this job and I thought, yeah, great idea, I'll go here.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It was approximately 12 years ago when my core competence was related with real estate development. And then we saw that it will be an ambitious goal to develop a smart industrial city, but also includes science park. And since then we have been focusing on green tech sector. And thanks to that, today I can say that I also know a little bit about how energy flow, how it's generated, and thanks to Elmar, and also know how sharing economy works. So I have gathered some more experience, and it's getting more and more interesting to see that the future is here today.
And where is most of your time going these days? Is it more into electric cars rental, or is it more like the Pakri Science Park?
Honestly saying, it depends who asks. When you're asking about Elmo, then of course I have to say that 100% goes to Elmo. When you're asking about Pakri, then of course 100% goes to Pakri. So this is a life of entrepreneurs.
Absolutely, thank you. For the first, like a bigger round of discussion point, I would like to go to the consumers and ask you about what do you think, how big is actually the consumers' so-called voting power when they make their consumption decisions, and how it will affect your businesses in the near future, how it has changed over the course of the time? Because I assume at least that the consumers are getting more green aware or climate aware, let's say, although there are some opposing forces also at work these days. So, yeah, maybe starting from Osa, how about consumers and their voting power?
They have a lot of voting power. Our customers are businesses, and their customers are consumers. So as long as consumers don't think about sustainability, it's not really putting pressures on the companies. So when consumers start doing that, I think we will see a change. They're not the only power. I think that leadership in companies needs to come anyway, that they need to push these questions anyway. and of course governments, like I already talked about. But consumers do have a big power, and if they don't care, why should the companies care?
That's the case.
I can just agree. I think that the customers itself, they are having the biggest power ever. We are selling trucks to transport companies, but the companies then that are buying transports will demand on the transport buyers that they are green in their transports. So that means that puts pressure on us as a truck manufacturer to develop these solutions to be able to sell them to the customers. So that is what we see now when we have this LNG that is out now in the market. I mean, that is developed because we have pressure from the customer itself that we should be providing greener solution today, not wait for tomorrow's solution, but really offer that today. So I think that's will make an enormous impact. But it is also like this is the hen and the egg. There is not so many filling stations here in Estonia right now. There is one that I am aware of. And if you don't have any trucks, you don't have more filling stations. But if you don't have a filling station, then you hardly buy a truck, you know. So it's like hen and egg, who should start? But I have lived for several years now in Benelux area. And the Dutch people, they have been working with LNG and so for plus 7 years, something, and then you see that it's really booming. But then the authorities come in and make some, you know, they help this business with some subsidies. And then that you see that this is a booming effect on the market.
For me, it's, I just realized that I'm a little bit proud comparing to Volvo, for example, that both of my companies' DNA is full of green. So they are green companies from the first day on. So, but when the question was how much power the client has, I would like to say that they have the power, but because they have a lot of choices today, then they are making choices related with the price, and usually the price and the comfort wins. So they want to be green, but they want to use the same comfort and get it in even smaller price than they're used to pay. So yeah.
That's actually a bit of my second question also, and maybe even especially for you also, because you are working for a major logistics company in Sweden, and Sweden in these terms are very often a bit ahead of the other countries maybe when it comes to climate awareness and sustainability. So have you actually seen some clients making decisions in a way that they are taking in maybe a bit higher price, knowing that this will actually lead to more green delivery, let's say? Have you seen such choices? Are they becoming more often that you see of those?
I understand the question. I would say that we have seen a movement during the last 3 years, and especially this year. However, price is always very important. Even when you input goods that you can put a lot of money on the margin, you still want the price per item to be very low. So it's hard. I actually think that companies will have to maybe pay a little bit extra, but it's our responsibility as a knowledge partner, logistics partner, to explain the differences in choices and explain what difference a little bit of a bigger price tag can actually make. So it's sort of, we have a responsibility in this, and I think that our customers have as well. But to get back to your question, they don't want to pay anymore, but they are a lot more interested now, and they take it into account. So to be relevant, you really need to take sustainability seriously.
Maybe comment, do you agree that today it's more communication issue? It's not about the product or the service, it's communication, how you explain to the client that the price they are paying is not higher because the price is not just one number on a paper. It has some CEO stamps and other stuff related. So we have seen that communication is the key today also to explain.
Agree.
Maria, maybe you have something to add on here.
I would say, I think these early adopters in the market, they are willing to pay a little bit more for being first. You know, they are maybe the true believers, you know, and they want to do higher good and so. So I think that's okay. But I would say it's not, we have to look in the total chain, how to do this. Okay, you have a green truck, we have an LNG truck or whatever we have, but we have to look into how to pack the goods, how to transport. If you go fully loaded one direction, if you go empty loaded the other way, then it's not so very smart and not so cost efficient. I mean, we have to look into the different perspectives. To have work smarter, work more with optimization, and you know, to do this kind of things. Yeah. And when it comes to trucks, fuel is one thing. We heard before that batteries are all bad and hydrogen is all good. But I think that we'll have to look into the whole perspective, just to develop, to create and do hydrogen. Then you have a lot of CO2 emissions out of that. I would say that's not so sustainable for actually using the material and the fuel it's as such. That part is all good. But to produce the hydrogen, then you have a lot more carbon CO2 emissions than actually with the electric vehicles, as we believe is more the future. Okay, maybe not with the existing batteries for today. That can be discussed. That has to be developed to be more powerful batteries or whatever they can be. But just to see that as a perspective.
Are you measuring the life cycle?
We are looking.
Life cycle, of course. Producing electrical car versus hydrogen. Okay.
We're looking in the complete, but I also think that we work smarter. A truck today, a Volvo truck today is actually consists of 30% of this recycled material already. So that we have to use. And in the end of the lifetime of a truck, then 90% is actually recycled in the material. I think we have to look in different ways and different perspective. Fuel is one thing, but then works more with smarter solutions, pack them better, have better fuel consumption with using aerodynamics, and work in a smarter and a different way. And also with this self-driving vehicles, and also work with platooning, for instance, where we are having it's like a road train, where we have a driver in the first, and then they will come to second and third vehicle will just be driving, following the other ones, to have the work with smarter ways.
Yep. A bit on top of that, as I understand, in your case, most of your clients are actually businesses themselves. So there is only maybe N dealing a bit with individuals as customers. So my question is, for example, in your case, actually the end customer has also very much, I believe, this voting power, and until we actually and you will start buying things or being able to buy things a bit maybe more expensive, just knowing that the delivery has been made in more green way. So do you think there's something that we could do in order to fasten up the awareness of the regular customer, so that people will start making these choices maybe a bit sooner than they would? Have politicians something to be done here, or on that side, just a couple of comments if you have. Maybe also.
Yeah, I do have a comment. I don't know if it's what you're after, but this is how my brain... I'm thinking about now with the new digital world, you're going to be able to follow your delivery much closer. You're going to be able to understand where it came from, how it traveled along the way. So you can't really... Because I believe that many people think it doesn't matter what I do, it travels the same way anyway, it's sourced from the same places. But if you can actually follow the product from the very beginning all the way through the transport, you actually get the receipt that this has been handled in a much more sustainable way, and I can rely on this, and then I'm going to be more prone to paying more.
Makes sense to me, at least.
I agree.
And maybe you, something?
I would like to say the same, but not to copy your answer, then maybe to add some experience. We have tested several messages, several packages, several messages that it's greener and so on. Most effective has been the price. So if you at least try to do some campaign with a lower price, you will get the contact. And if you have the contact, then you have a chance to explain what you're doing. Because before, or if you're just trying to explain to the world that drive an electrical car and share it, and or in Pakri use green energy, it takes too much time. So we have a very good first-hand experience when we tested with the price. Yes, we saw that it's not feasible in long term, but on short term, but on longer term, we got the clients, and now we are communicating directly with the clients. So very valuable experience and simple.
Yeah.
I would say, I think politicians play an important role here to, I mean, maybe to kickstart this in a certain way. I mean, to actually give it an extra push. So even the other ones that are not the early adopters, they would dare to try. And so like for the gas filling stations are actually brought up in this country, and so we have more. So then it will go more with itself, because when it comes to the performance of if you just compare a diesel truck and an LNG truck, then they are like, the performance is as good as they are the same. They are filled in a different way, and okay, for the total cost of ownership, then it's, I would say it's good. But
Yeah.
Politicians, I think they should look into this possibility to help out a little bit, give it a little bit of a push, because I think that's needed. As I mean, Estonia now, we only have one filling station. If we look in other countries, the whole Europe is filled of filling stations, and so we are a little bit behind, I would say.
Sure. And I also, to me, it seems that there is also a question of the external costs a bit. I mean, many of the solutions that we use today, the prices of these solutions, they very often do not reflect all the external costs, actually, the impact to the environment. So in that sense, and as you are all putting it out, the price is extremely important still. In that context, I believe that the regulators still have their say here, and to maybe change the incentives of the businesses, but also maybe the end consumers, how they make their decisions.
I think awareness as well. Maybe people are not so aware how it's transported. If you eat in a restaurant and so, did you know how the beer was brought there, or the hamburgers, or whatever it is? No, you don't know it. But maybe if people know it, then they put higher pressure on these, transport buyers, and then it will all start.
Yep, I believe it would be that way a lot. So let's move to another topic, and that's technology and the green logistics, or just logistics. So there has been a lot happening on the technological front the last, 10 years, maybe even 20 years, and probably a lot will happen still. What do you think are maybe the breakthroughs on the technological front that really changes your businesses and maybe enables for you to be more green, what you do? Let's start with Osa again.
Me again, yeah. Well, Of course, I mean, the new digitalization, we're talking about Internet of Logistics, things being connected directly to the internet and telling the internet how they want to move, and people hooking up to that and helping things move. That's interesting. I think that will make a lot of change when it comes to sort of networking and how things move. Then there are plenty of other opportunities when it comes to developing the vessels and the trucks, etc. But we have an expert in that field here.
I would say Volvo for today, they have 1 million vehicles connected. And that's like smart devices in the trucks that actually measure the performance of the truck, meaning that we can regulate and see how to make fuel consumption better, and when this truck is going up on the hill, how can we then regulate the engines and everything so it goes in the most optimized way. That's one way of how the technology itself has been developed. And this is also how to handle these trucks and how to, but one important role for the time being now is also the drivers. How are they driving the truck? If they are trained to drive more green, then they will have less fuel consumption and then also less impact on the environment. And when it comes to new development and new technology, today we have the LNG trucks and so, but for the future we also have developing electrical trucks that will have zero emissions. And this is ongoing already. We have this Vera that is now a cab that are working in some harbors. This is like a prototype truck, but a real one. But it's controlled from this control tower. It's a truck without a cab because there is no driver at all. So that's like off and unloading cargo to the ships. And that's with completely zero emissions. And what we also see is that what have been developed now is like silent mode on trucks, meaning that you can distribute goods inside Amsterdam, for instance, during nighttime. So then we can use the roads when there is not so much congestion and so we can work smarter. So then we are not standing still with a lot of traffic. We can go in and out, the delivery quickly during nighttime and out. People are sleeping around in the houses, that's fine. But these kind of things that are developed now, that is quite cool. Also a zone that you can have, like you set a certain zone in a map, and that when the truck is entering in that zone, then it completely have the parameters that someone decided for that zone, like silent mode or less, whatever it can be, certain speed limits, or, I mean, you can really, with new technologies, you can do things with this. I think that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were pitching beforehand, and you told us something about the new controllers
Yes.
on the Elmo cars. I guess that's a technology as well. So can you maybe describe a bit what these controllers are about and what kind of smartness do they have?
I think the key today, you don't have to develop your own controller, but on a market there are different and so-called open-based technologies what you can use and use for collecting data and use the data for offering better value. Taking into account that, then yes, in Elmo Rent we developed our own controller. Basically what can get all the information from the car, what the car manufacturer says it is or will be open. So we know what kind of radio station our client is using or listening, what temperature they like. We can't control the steering wheel and brakes probably. Taking account that, we have a bunch of personal information, but we can use it to offer more value. More value, what we can use to promote our service, and this is the measures what I said, that you will give one thing to get the client and then you have to give something else to keep them. And I think the personal service is something. I think your goal is also to offer the personal service in longer range. and we can do it basically today. So if you have seen the Michael Knight movie or the TV series, then we can talk with the car and car talks with us.
All right. But do you also have something on the science parks business that you could point maybe out that, I don't know, some technology that you are using or becoming to use that would really help you and your customers?
Honestly saying, in the field of green logistics, no.
Not yet.
Not yet. They are mainly related with renewable energy and software parts, so not the logistics, so sadly.
When it comes to logistics, I mean, it's practically everywhere actually, and it's not about the cars only, it's not about the ships only, it's also about packaging, it's about routes, it's about the processes in the companies. Maybe you can also point out some cool trends in these fields, like processes in a company, for example, or packaging, or I don't know how much do you see the packaging side of, in your businesses, but maybe you do. So.
Well, I see a lot of like robotic solutions for packaging, ensuring that you have the exact right size of package for your goods, and I think this is really coming. And it's a must because we don't want to travel around with air in our trucks or planes or whatever. So less air and better adapted packaging is a really important factor in logistics. And for companies, I mean, just look at storage. You don't want to have enormous storage units with air in. It costs a lot of money. So you want to keep products there, not air. Then packaging, of course, is also a way of making products more sustainable. We still need packaging, but it should be the best packaging.
Yeah, I think it comes to planning as well. I mean, planning using the transport in the right way. And then, of course, then use these smart things that are now with connected vehicles to optimize the flows, to have vehicles communicating to each other and with people, connect to logistic systems. And so there is so many possibilities. I think that planning is the key. Using right packages is a must, of course.
I was just thinking earlier when you talked about the deliveries in cities, etc. Just think about our cities in the future without all these delivery trucks standing everywhere and smaller micro-mobility things. It's going to be so much more enjoyable to visit the city. It's going to be more safe. It's going to be perfect.
Maybe the big trucks only come to a hub outside the city, and then you have small vehicles that are going into the city with the deliveries and then go and dock again. They are recharging as they are docking and then go up again. And then you have the bigger transports going more long distance. And so, I mean...
We actually see part of that future in Tallinn Science Park Ternopil every day, because we have the Starship company there, which operates these small last-mile delivery robots. And they run around there every day. So on the small scale, it already is being tested, not only tested, but used already on a small
And maybe
scale.
then you don't need the drivers, because we also see a shortage of drivers. No one wants to be a truck driver anymore. All want to be YouTube stars. So that's more or less what it is. So, I mean, but that's the problem we have in the transport industry, that we have lack of drivers. And then, of course, if they can be more, autonomous and so, then that will help out.
More YouTube stars.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I have a question for you. Is there today existing and feasible solution for a driverless truck to drive on a public road for 2 kilometers to the port? And how much does it cost?
I would say there is more in the stage of development right now, as we're talking about two kind of things. I mean, if we have platooning, when you have like 3 trucks in a convoy, first truck has the driver, the second 2 are without the driver. Today, these are existing in the trial things, but we have drivers in the second and the third as well. Safety, because this has to be more proven, and we can just let it out and then there is an accident on a person. I mean, that's not even, that is not also sustainable, I would say.
But
But when it comes to this electronic, we have this Vera that is now operating and so, but this is like on the go. I would say, I don't think that you can buy a solution that is fit for fight right now. I mean, in the smaller scale, yes. In the, like in the locked area, maybe, yeah.
But how long does it take time?
The development is ongoing all the time, and we have spent a lot of years already now to developing solutions for actually approaching this. As we are, Volvo is actually part of the problem when it comes to this exhaust, because we are having diesel engines. I mean, this is what it is, but we see it as more as a possibility to develop new solutions.
Okay.
Another thing that I would like to discuss, at least briefly, is that I was hearing from Technopol's green area manager Ragnar lately that the one trend that actually takes place in logistics is consolidation. That consolidation via all kinds of IT systems actually also is the one thing that might help this sector to become more efficient, so that you connect the different kind of transport modes, maybe even different kind of companies together onto some sort of platforms. So in that sense, to my mind, it seems that the size matters in the logistics sector, because there is more to consolidate when you are bigger. And it's kind of contradicts the idea that usually when it comes to accepting the new and moving to new technologies, the smaller are a bit quicker there. So how do you see that? Is there this contradictory that I see there, or how would you comment on that? The size in the logistics and the consolidation, does it matter?
Larger companies have bigger muscles. One. Consolidation for me is about putting different types of goods together and moving them as a unit, although you come from different companies. But I'm not sure about what kind of consolidation you're talking about.
I mean, for me...
of course, we work with consolidation constantly.
Yes.
In that sense.
You actually do that, don't you? I mean, you put different kind of transport modes to work together.
Yeah,
because it's
modality, and then we of course use our size to put goods from different customers together, to ship them together, to be more cost efficient and more sustainable. That's what we do each day. But maybe...
just to be more clear, maybe I'll explain just a couple of words what I meant. I mean, there was this startup lately called Balletter. And what they did basically was that they tried to make the trucks filled up on both sides of the routes.
Yeah.
And that needs some consolidation, because basically you connect all the different transport companies and the needs of the consumers. And you try to raise the effectiveness of the solutions in that way. And that is, in my mind, a sort of consolidation. So that's what I mean.
A new kind of platform for sharing space and putting your goods into...
For example, yeah.
That's really interesting. I think it's going to come more and more of that, and we're also looking into that.
Great. Maria?
Volvo is developing something called Volvo Connect, and that's like a platform for shared services. That's in the development stage. It's launched in some countries, but I have not that much details for now, so I can share this right now.
Okay, but you are kind of working on...
Volvo is a very big company. Of course, we are working on that. And there's, of course, as you say, a big company has more muscles, that's for sure. It can also be very slow. But I think, when developing new technologies, you don't have the time to be slow. And I think everyone is aware of this, and that we have to look into the processes and so to see how to speed up this process. We don't have so much time, even if we started a long time ago, but now it's getting fast, actually.
All right. And maybe...
We just heard Wim. They're doing the same in local transport, and I think this is today. This is not future anymore, and I think it's also an opportunity for green logistics. Please say if you don't agree with me, but if we have to explain to the client all the steps in more details, how it affects the environment and so on, for the client it's too much information and we can't handle it. Basically check your mobile phone how many different apps you have, what is doing the same assignment. So if we consolidate, then the message is more easier and clear, and the one platform or those couple of platforms will explain it, and I think it's an opportunity for green logistics.
All right, we have some 5 minutes or a bit less left. Let's go finally to business models. And I would still like to ask, it's actually related to the first round that we had, but how do you see it? How long do investors need to be satisfied with a bit maybe less returns on when they are green, and will it actually turn someday that I don't know, the return on investments will be exactly the same or even better maybe because of something? Also, how about your investors? Are they happy today? And will
well,
you
we have a private owner. He's very happy. No, we don't work that way really, but I think that we work also for the future, but very here and now, and I can only see that there's a little, there's not much patience about the return of investments generally. People want the same price and a more sustainable solution. I'm not talking about our owner now, I'm just picking up what I feel in general. But like in the beginning here, I think we really need to explain more and see not the cost as a cost, but explain the whole width of what it gives back.
But then again, is it also like a certain type of clients that you are working with, because you are a green carrier? So does the name and maybe your reputation somehow draw in a specific kind of clients?
Yes, a specific kind of, they have a specific kind of interest. I mean, not all of them, but some do choose us because of that. Yeah, so, and I can see a positive trend in that.
Good.
And I
Maria?
would say there is not so much money put yet into this, longer, I would say, in the development of the diesel engines. Now the development is towards renewable and alternative fuel solutions. That's like the main focus. I would say, I would not put the figures on the table, but I would say 80-90% is looking forward to the future. This heavy transport industry are into a big change now, going from what they have done always to something completely new. Okay, we will still produce trucks in one form or another, with the driver, without the driver, or I mean in a different way. But I mean that's the big focus. If that will pay off, I think that there is no alternative.
Well put. And you and investors and the returns.
In my case,
business
it's
side of it.
quite simple because I'm the only investor in my companies, basically.
Are you satisfied?
So I have to satisfy myself. Oh, you have to be crazy to do it. Yeah, this is, I think, the 12 years experience. But luckily, today, the future is here. This is my only hope, that I think if I shouldn't be so crazy, I think I have had like 5 to 10 chances to stop it, because it takes so much resource and so on. So, but at least my confidence, how was said that my consciousness is clean and pure. So
and I hope you will actually carry on, because yeah, the environment needs persons like you who are willing to put in their power. And then
So yeah, but it depends on the client, basically. If client still says that, oh, we have time and we will choose something else, then it can't, there is no very strong so-called push from our case. So yeah, we have to be strong.
we have run out of time, so I hope you enjoyed. Thank you, the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Maria, to Åsa, to N, and to Kurt.